Minnesota Reserves.
Gentlelady from Minnesota Reserves.
Gentleman from New York.
Gentleman from New York is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I frankly, am a little perplexed, and I think when I get home and talk to my restaurant owners, they're going to say, why were you having a conversation about something not related to the Restaurant Revitalization Act? And I'll explain to them that as much as I'd love to get into a conversation about how Putin's aggressive actions in Russia have affected gas, or in Ukraine have affected gas prices around the world, as much as I'd love to have a conversation about how oil companies have decided to continue to reap record profits and not increase supply to meet the demand around the world, as much as we could talk about all those things, that's not why we're here today. So we should have that conversation in an appropriate venue. But this conversation, and the venue right now that we're in, is to talk about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. It's to talk about the 178,000 restaurants owned by Republicans, Democrats, independents, all across America, in every single district that we have the privilege of representing. Every single district has restaurants. And that's what we're here to talk about, is how to get relief into the hands of those individuals who for 2 years have struggled under the most difficult economic circumstances any of us could ever imagine. So let's make sure we keep our eye on the ball. Let's continue to focus on the question in front of the House. And with that, let me please yield to the distinguished gentlewoman from Pennsylvania, my friend and another distinguished member of the Rules Committee, Ms. Scanlon.
The gentlelady is recognized. How much time?
I'm sorry, yield for 3 minutes, sir.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, in southeastern Pennsylvania and in cities and towns across the country, restaurants are an essential cornerstone of our local communities and our regional economies. But these restaurants were hard hit by the pandemic. Despite the excellence of their cuisine, over the past 2 years, many independent restaurants in Philly and Delaware County, Montgomery County, struggled to stay in business, and some permanently shuttered. The Restaurant Revitalization Fund, passed as part of the American Rescue Plan, was a lifeline for the restaurants who received it. The program provided grants targeted to the hardest hit restaurants, giving restaurant operators financial relief to keep their doors open and to keep people employed. But the funds weren't enough to match the need. I've heard it from my constituents. Everybody who's listening has heard it from their constituents. And while roughly 300,000 restaurants applied for aid, only about 100,000 received grants. For months, I've joined Representative Blumenauer and my colleagues in calling to replenish the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, using only funds recouped from fraudulent claims that had been made in earlier small business relief programs. The Relief for Restaurants and Other Hard-Hit Small Businesses Act will provide additional financial support to restaurants and small businesses in the industries that are still grievously affected by the coronavirus pandemic. I'm glad this needed bill is getting a vote on the floor. I strongly support the rule and its underlying legislation, and I urge all my colleagues to recognize that this issue is still before us, and they should do the same. I yield back.